Do you want to know how to safely pay your Chinese suppliers without getting scammed? I'm going to be showing you 3 methods on exactly how to do so. For those that may not know me, I'm Michael. I've been living in China for 6 years and I help businesses and individuals source from China safely to avoid getting scammed and to improve your bottom line. I'm going to cover 3 methods how you should pay suppliers in China, starting from beginner to intermediate to more advanced. The first one being using official platforms like 1688, Taobao, Idlefish, Pinduoduo to make the payment. Why do I say this is the best for beginners? Because if you know what you're doing, the money is actually held in escrow. There are some exceptions where the supplier has proven a track record. So to go through an example, if I'm using Taobao right here and I want to buy a product, when you make the payment, it holds it in escrow. If you don't know what that means, it means until you confirm the receipt of the goods, the supplier will not get the money. The money is actually held by Taobao itself. Another reason is that you can keep track of where your product's at. So these are, I mean, you might recognize these, but if you've never used Taobao before, this is essentially the steps of your product journey. So if you haven't made the purchase yet, but you have it, we call it that you have an intent to pay, where it reserves your order for 24 hours, then it will be here. If you have made payments and it hasn't been shipped yet, it will be here. Obviously, I don't have any pending shipments. If it has been shipped yet, but not yet confirmed or received, it will be here. So let me just give you some examples. So here, there's plenty of products that I've already purchased and they've already shipped. So you can actually check the shipping right here of where it's at. And when you check the shipping, it will tell you the shipping number and all that for that specific product. And it will tell you where it's at in the system. Up until you press this button, the supplier won't receive the funds that you did. So if it's a scam and they send you an empty product, you can fight it and then the supplier never gets the money. So that's why I recommend the first method of paying suppliers is on the platform directly. Taobao 1688. They have experience. They make sure the money is in escrow to protect yourself from any scams. We've had a client before that just wanted to risk it and they didn't do business with a supplier before. When they shipped the goods to the freight forwarder in China, it was just an empty bag. So you want to avoid that. And that's why you have systems like Taobao and 1688. Another good benefit about using Taobao is that you can pay with your foreign bank card. Let's say you want to pay with your Visa or MasterCard. Taobao actually allows that to happen. I made a video about exactly how to do it as a foreigner, and you can use your local bank card to make the payment at checkout. You can even sometimes ship it overseas depending on what country is supported. However, if you want to use a platform like, let's say 1688, yes, the goods are cheaper. This is more for a wholesale market, but the big difference of paying suppliers here is that they only accept Chinese yuan unless you have a world first account. And I mean, you can open an account as a business, not as an individual. So don't be trying to open one as an individual. You won't go through the authentication. And then you can make the payment with USD from your world first account or through your Chinese bank account. There's a little bit more of a hurdle here to make the payment directly to the supplier. Another way is if you have an Alipay account and you have a method to receive Chinese yuan, you can go ahead and make the payment there. Now, there is something to note that if you don't want to deal with having a passport, having a Chinese bank account, or paying these suppliers to avoid scams, you can visit our website, create an account for free, and my website is directly linked to Taobao Pinduoduo 1688 so that you can make payments in USD with any bank card that is Visa or MasterCard around the world. What we can guarantee is that we protect you from the scams using our platform, and we can deal with issues that they happen on the ground. Recently, I had dealt with a perfume supplier where I had a customer that wanted to buy about 100 boxes. We placed the order for 100 boxes and they only shipped 1. So we dealt with the problem while the products were still in China, and that customer did end up getting a refund for that purchase, and we avoided the scam entirely. Now, the second method, if you're somewhat experienced and you have these relationships already with the suppliers, is to do direct bank transfers or use third parties like Western Union, Wise, etc. to directly pay to the supplier's bank account. Now, I don't recommend that you pay them in lump sum if it's a large order, but this is a way to safely send them money and making sure that you're not using a sketchy third party that will just receive your money and then, oh, I'm not going to pay the supplier. Bye-bye. I don't know who you are, and are not held accountable. So be very careful with some third parties that may be offering you currency exchange because usually there's a lot of stuff in the back end that you may not be aware of. But if you're working with someone that's very trusted, go ahead and continue doing so. Now, I only recommend doing this method if you already have an established relationship with a supplier, you've been doing business with them for a while. However, if they pressure you to take it off the platform, so for example, you were paying them on 1688 before, and then all of a sudden they want you to pay them direct and they offer you a very attractive discount. There was this one supplier that used to be on 1688 and we did plenty of business for them for a few years. It wasn't like a new supplier or anything. And we developed this relationship with them, and we even were able to get good pricing. However, suddenly one day they're like, hey, I can offer you 30% off if you pay me direct. And we're like, okay, we understand that 1688 and Taobao may charge the supplier. They do a transaction fee. So for example, like on eBay, if you post a product and it gets sold, eBay gets a cut. It ranges between 5 to 15% depending on your volume. And we're like, okay, it makes sense, but 30% was quite high for the discount. Then after we made the payment to that supplier, they ended up going through a bankruptcy process, and then their 1688 store shut down, and then all this stuff just started happening. Just be very careful. I would recommend, if you do go to the direct method, that you have the clear contact information, like the owner's ID card information, where they live, the closest police station, so that you can make a report locally. And it's very difficult to make a report overseas if you don't have anyone on the ground in China to help you to get your money back. And in most cases, the police won't be able to solve the problem. It will have to go to the civil court to be able to solve through litigation, which will be a pain in the butt. But at least you know that there is that method to do that. And by all means, and that goes into my third method. So let's say the second method is paying them direct through bank transfer, and that's for like more low volume. But let's say you're going for a larger volume, like hundreds, maybe even thousands of product, you have a stable business, then I would suggest going into the Pro-Forma or contracting. You still pay them using the transfer, using the bank account method. However, in the contract, you will specify, we're going to pay you 10 to 20% deposit, just so you have enough money to start production, because you don't want them to be at a loss either. You got to be reasonable. You can't just be like, hey, start production without any kind of deposit. And then after they have made 50% of the products or whatever, and they've proven it through video, chat, or photos, then you pay an extra 40%. And then the last payment, if you're able to negotiate this, and this should only be done with suppliers you have done solid business with and you have a track record with, then you go ahead and do the final payment once you confirm that all the products are there. Now, to prevent any scams from happening here, I highly recommend you have some kind of a third-party inspection company, or if you're lucky, where your shipping agent can provide the inspection, which some of them can, usually not for free, they usually charge per man-day. Then they go ahead and check it, and then when they confirm all the goods are here, we count every single one, it's accurate to your order, then make the final payment to get it shipped overseas. But using these kind of contracts and Pro-Forma is more powerful. That's why I mention it as a third method to do it, because if an issue were to happen, you have documentation, signatures, contracts in place to give to a lawyer, especially if it's very large amount, let's say $20,000 or more, to be able to go through the litigation process, and it would be pretty black and white if you actually have it on paper. Now, something to realize is I highly recommend, if you do any contracts in China directly, to at least have dual language, like have an English and Chinese version of the same contract, or just what they say, double language. How they say in Chinese, just have double language. So you have the Chinese on the top, and under it is the English translation of the contract. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It can be simply 1 or 2 pages, and there are plenty of templates out there that specify, okay, payment 1 would be 20%, and that's enough for you to do production. Payment due would be another 40%, and that will be after we confirmed you made at least 50% of the product. And payment 3 is when we confirmed all the products are made and it's ready to be shipped. You don't have to overcomplicate it with like the US tax code. It's like thousands of pages. Just do 1 or 2 pages. That's enough. Now, as mentioned, that's 3 methods that you can use to pay suppliers directly. If you're a newbie, stay on the platforms, especially the ones that accept foreign bank cards like Taobao. If you want to buy directly on 1688, but you don't have a passport, you don't have a Chinese bank account, again, we do offer the services in our website, borderlesscommerce.net. You can just simply contact our team, make an account for free, and we can help you with that to make sure your products are securely sourced and you don't get scammed in the process. If you want to learn how to use 1688 step by step, check out this video right here.